Welcome back to the BetCanada channel. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. First full slate of preseason games this week. And believe it or not, the most sought after game, the most watched game involved the Cleveland Browns, who went 3-14 in 2024. And there was one reason and one reason only. Rookie quarterback out of the University of Colorado, Shedeur Sanders' debut within the NFL. Whether it's the right approach or the wrong approach, the Cleveland Browns have kind of played the slow and steady game with Shedeur Sanders up until this point. In practices, Shedeur Sanders has not gotten first team reps, has worked mostly with second and third stringers. You talk to anybody who's been out on those practice fields, and to this point, Shedeur Sanders has looked extremely well, looked the part. There are some negatives and critiques to Shedeur Sanders' game, which led to him dropping in the draft, among a bunch of other things as well. But there were some things with Sanders on tape at Colorado that could not be ignored. His ball placement, his touch, his just overall ability to just drill a 20-yard dig pattern in a crucial situation. The arm talent was there. The athleticism could be a question mark, no doubt about it. And that actually you saw early. There was a 4th and 1 situation. The Browns opted to go empty set. The snap came to Shedeur. Shedeur, like you saw sometimes at Colorado, tried to avoid pass rushers and ended up, going backwards too often, which led to a crucial incompletion. But you saw what made Sanders the guy he was at Colorado. Threw 2 touchdown passes. Yes, he was only 13 of 24 overall, but 2 touchdown passes to fellow rookie Caden Davis. The first one, and it was really, really a well-placed ball. Over and underneath defender and just outside of a trailing defender. Caden Davis hauled it in on the back end of the end zone by the pylon. Later on, on his second touchdown pass, a blitz came through. Shedeur Sanders slid to the right in the pocket, allowed his running back to pick up the blitz, and again found rookie wide receiver Caden Davis. This time, the ball was placed low and away where only Davis could get it, and the Browns were in the end zone again. Sanders is never going to be a quarterback that's going to give you, thoughts of, a Lamar Jackson. It's just not his game. He just doesn't have that kind of raw athleticism and speed. But you did see early on in the 3rd and 9 situation, they went empty. There was a blitz. Shedeur got outside of the blitzer, knew it was man coverage, and ran himself past the sticks, slid down, and got the Browns a first down. You see sometimes guys early on in this type of stuff improve kind of on the fly. And in the first quarter, Shedeur Sanders was rolling to his left. There was a guy open. It required a touch pass. Shedeur just put too much on it and overthrew his receiver. Later on, though, however, in the third quarter, while rolling to his right, very similar opportunity. Shedeur dropped one over a couple of defenders, and rookie Luke Floria made a one-handed reception that went for 30 yards. Now, when you see what Sanders did and you go through it, and the things that were really important with a rookie quarterback in the initial preseason game is command of the huddle. Oh, yeah, well, Shedeur Sanders had that and had it well. Is everybody lined up where they need to be lined up? Yes, there was actually an instance early in the game where Caden Davis came in to Shedeur Sanders, obviously a little bit confused, and Shedeur, with a quick words and a hand motion, Caden Davis went out and got set. Now, there's a lot of talk about where the Browns quarterback position is going to be here in the 2025 regular season. Joe Flacco most likely looks like he will be the starter in week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals, and that is probably the correct move to go. But whether or not the Browns succeed early, and that is probably a high expectation to this point, Shedeur Sanders right now is kind of putting his name on the map within that quarterback room. Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, both injured, battling hamstring injuries. Joe Flacco was 40. There was no reason to play a 40-year-old quarterback in preseason games. So therefore, the start came a necessity almost for Shedeur Sanders. Veteran Tyler Huntley had been there for a couple of days, was able to do enough to contribute in a mop-up duty, but by no means was ready to be the starting quarterback Friday night against Carolina. Shedeur got his opportunity, spoke before the game about his excitement for the opportunity, his being thankful for the opportunity, and he talked about how he wanted to get out there with his teammates and the simple things that he wanted to get done. And Shedeur passed this first test with flying colors. There's been a lot of bantering about the Cleveland Browns' handling of Shedeur Sanders, why they aren't giving him more. But you can say that Shedeur Sanders is a fifth round pick and the Cleveland Browns are handling a fifth round pick the way they should. You can also say that Shedeur Sanders is not your typical fifth round pick and could be put on an accelerated path. Well, now the Browns have a decision to make because when you were holding Shedeur back and trying to put him in the best position to succeed, that has all come to fruition now. And he has passed his first test and he looked pretty good doing it. And you could see at times that it seemed like Shedeur was maybe out on the field with guys who he's worked with, yes, but maybe who are not necessarily on his overall talent level. Browns fans, Browns media want Shedeur Sanders to get a bigger piece of the pie. What does that mean exactly? That means opportunities to practice with and possibly even play with the first stringers. The Browns are normally cautious about playing their first string players in the summer and in preseason games. However, with the fact that Shedeur Sanders could right now carve out a path to be the number two quarterback, the backup quarterback, and honestly, a guy who could start the majority of the games for the Cleveland Browns in 2025, it might be time to go back and recalibrate that thinking. Look, he should have done well. He's Shedeur Sanders. His college tape was great. There were some things you could nitpick, but if you want to say that Shedeur Sanders wasn't a guy that maybe deserved to go round one, that's fair. But there's not a person breathing who believes that Shedeur Sanders was not a guy who should have went in the fifth round. Now, Browns are in this difficult spot. There's a lot of veterans on this team, and they owe it to those veterans to try to compete this season and try to go out and possibly win games, possibly fight for a playoff spot. That's every team's goal coming out of this, the summer into week one. But the Browns, with two rookie quarterbacks on their roster and no real future at the position, and holding two first round picks in April's 2026 NFL draft, their only possibility, in my opinion, to not have to use one of those two first round picks on a quarterback in April of 2026 is to find out if whether or not Shedeur Sanders can be that guy. He has kind of challenged this team with his play, not personally, not with his words, but by passing his first test with flying colors, Shedeur Sanders has kind of shown the Browns that he is ready for the next step. The Browns will face the Philadelphia Eagles Saturday in Philadelphia after a couple of joint practices where you think it makes the most sense in the world for Cleveland to give Shedeur a bigger piece of the puzzle. Get him to work with the likes of Jerry Jeudy. Get him to work with the likes of Cedric Tillman. Get him to work with the likes of David Njoku. Shedeur is as talented as probably any rookie quarterback in the NFL right now. And while the Browns chose a slow approach with him, and you can't fault it because it certainly showed results. His personality cannot be ignored. His speak and his respect for the game, for his peers, for all of those that became before him. Shedeur Sanders knows exactly how to play the game in the NFL and knows exactly how to play the media game when a microphone is in front of him. Cleveland desperately needs a face of the franchise quarterback. Maybe, just maybe, they found it in the fifth round of the 2025 NFL draft. His bloodlines speak for itself. Here is a guy that has dreamt and thought he would get an opportunity in the NFL his entire life. Well, that time is here. And the clock on when Shedeur Sanders actually gets to start for the Cleveland Browns in regular season games is probably ticking and ticking very, very quickly. The Browns probably have a good problem on their hands. They know what Joe Flacco can do for them, but they have a guy in Shedeur Sanders that everybody is seen to gravitating to. And you saw it when he was on the sidelines Friday night when he was done. David Njoku, Brown's starting tight end, was a first round pick in 2017, sat there just bantering back and forth with Shedeur Sanders and the good things he had done in that game Friday night down in Carolina. It's Shadeur's time. He deserves more of an opportunity, and the Browns put steps in front of him, and I think Shedeur is moving quicker than the Cleveland Browns anticipated. That's not a problem for the Browns. That's certainly not a problem for Shedeur Sanders. One step down for Shedeur Sanders, many more to go, but it's kind of hard to find a way to not bet on somebody with the last name and bloodline of Sanders. Thanks for watching this video. YouTube thinks you'll love it. Make sure you like it, leave us a comment, and of course, subscribe to the channel. I'm Jeff Lloyd, and this is the Bet Canada channel.